Chris Bears on the flight. Let me go tune in to Keek on the mic. He gon' make sure we get our news and highlights. When you get on YouTube, you better hit the like.
The Chicago Bears may be in some big trouble. Hey, what's going on, Bears fans? Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Keek on the Mic, the podcast all about the Chicago Bears. As always, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. First and foremost, to all the Bears fans out there, happy Victory Monday to every single one of you guys. I don't care if it's the regular season or preseason, it's always a good feeling to watch your team dominate the way that the Chicago Bears dominated the Buffalo Bills last night in a 38-0 butt whooping. And you know, like I said, everyone's playing at a really high level, and there is a tradition I'm going to keep going on to this season right here on the podcast. After every single Chicago Bears win, I'm going to play Claws Up, the Chicago Bears anthem, right here on the podcast. So without further ado, Bears fans, it's time to put your claws up. So, Bears fans, I can't believe that Chicago Bears anthem is already a whole year old. Obviously, we didn't get to play it a lot last season, just for the simple fact that Chicago Bears didn't win very many football games. So hopefully that can be a fun tradition that when the Chicago Bears start winning more consistently, you guys get to hear that Claws Up Chicago Bears anthem a little bit more. So, Bears fans, this is going to be a loaded podcast on today's episode of Keek on the Mic. There's definitely a lot of things that I want to talk about. Of course, the amazing performance from our quarterback in Caleb Williams. But the first thing I want to talk about is how the Chicago Bears may be in some injury trouble. It was an outstanding game yesterday. We can tell just by looking at it that Ben Johnson has these guys locked in, and these players are buying into the culture that Ben Johnson is setting here in Chicago, and they're all playing at the level that Ben Johnson wants them to, right? And you could even see on the sideline, even when they're up 38-0, you know, Ben Johnson doesn't even have a smile. This guy's absolute menace. He's a competitor. He's a warrior. He is the perfect person to lead this franchise, hopefully to become more of a relevant franchise in the near future. But even though it was all good for the Chicago Bears winning 38-0, and, you know, you saw different players playing really, really well, like Luther Burden had some really nice blocks. Caleb Williams played well. Colston Loveland showed out as well. Tyson Bagent and the other backup quarterbacks played well as well. But the Chicago Bears did deal with some major injuries in yesterday's game. They're not yet confirmed, but I want to send my prayers to Terrell Smith. He had a non-contact knee injury, and he had the towel over his head as he was exiting Soldier Field. So hopefully, prayers up to him. Hopefully it's not as bad, but obviously when you see a player so frustrated and it's a non-contact knee injury, that's usually not a good sign. So, prayers up for him. He has been a solid player for the Chicago Bears defense. So if it is what we are expecting it to be, obviously prayers up for him and a speedy recovery. But another big injuries that I wanted to talk about in yesterday's preseason win over the Buffalo Bills is two of our, young edge rushers in Austin Booker and Dominique Robinson. They both left with injuries yesterday, and they did not return to the football game. Austin Booker left with a knee injury, and Dominique Robinson left with an ankle injury. And this is really concerning for Ryan Poles and the Chicago Bears, because they are the primary backups for defensive ends Montez Sweat and Dayo Odeyingbo. And we all know the type of preseason that Austin Booker was having. He had 3 sacks in the first game against the Miami Dolphins. And then the second game against the Buffalo Bills, he was also making a very strong impact as well. And then obviously the coaches definitely would love what they were seeing from Dominique Robinson as well. Even though he's been here for a couple of years, it seems that he's making more of a name for himself on the defensive side of the football. Of course, he was a special teamer and all that stuff, but he seems like he's finally getting his footing as a impact defensive player for the Chicago Bears. I know that Dennis Allen and a couple of the other coaches really excited about the progress that he was making during this training camp. So hopefully those two guys are okay, because when you look at the outlook of the Chicago Bears in the defensive end room here in Chicago, they really don't have many in-house options. I know that they signed Tano Passanio. They also have Daniel Hardy as well. But those guys are not really ensuing the confidence that, Austin Booker or Dominique Robinson were instilling during this training camp process. Of course, the Chicago Bears can look to move Shamar Turner to an edge rusher as well. That's something that he's been comfortable doing. He did it in college at a pretty high level as well. So I'm pretty sure Dennis Allen and the Chicago Bears can move some things around. Maybe they can go out and sign some reassurance in guys like Matthew Judon or Sedarius Smith. But if these injuries come back and they're negative and they're going to be out for some time, Ryan Poles and the Chicago Bears may have their hands tied, and they may have to go out and make some reassuring moves to make sure they not only have quality starters at the defensive end positions on this roster, but solid backups as well. But once again, wishing Terrell Smith a speedy recovery, and all my prayers are towards him right now for the best positive results his way. And of course, hoping that Austin Booker and Dominique Robinson are okay as well. So Bears fans, before I let you guys go on today's episode of Keek on the Mic, I just want to let you guys know that the national media absolutely cracks me up. Prior to yesterday's game, the talk around the Chicago Bears and Caleb Williams was like, well, why didn't Caleb Williams play against the Miami Dolphins? Is Ben Johnson hiding something, or is Caleb Williams not ready? And there's even people out there after the whole net drill thing saying that Caleb Williams was a buzz. Caleb Williams was this. Caleb Williams is not ready. And it was mostly coming from guys like Dan Orlowski or Colin Coward or Tannenbaum as well. But after the performance that Caleb Williams had, he went 6 for 10, 107 yards, a passing touchdown on the very first drive. He led a 92-yard touchdown drive for the Chicago Bears where he looked on time. He looked confident. And the biggest thing for me watching Caleb Williams on that first drive is that there was no pre-snap penalties, no false starts, no delay of games. Everything was on time. Everything was on rhythm. They even rolled him out. He looked just really, really good, much improved. The footwork looked good as well. Caleb Williams looked already that he's much improved quarterback, even with Ben Johnson. And I know a lot of people will say, well, Keek, he wasn't even playing against the starters for the Buffalo Bills defense. To me, that does not matter. What matters is that he went out there and he executed what he needed to get done within rhythm, within time, what Ben Johnson is expecting from him within the pocket. Caleb Williams, to me, looked like a much improved player. But what cracks me up about the national media is that now that he went out there and played and he looked really good, now the narrative of Caleb Williams being a bust when he didn't play against the Miami Dolphins, or when he throws a couple of training camp interceptions, or when that whole net drill went viral. Now, since he had a good preseason outing, now guys like Colin Coward or Dan Orlowski or Tannenbaum are now coming out and trying to reverse their stance on Caleb Williams. So what I'm going to do before I let you guys go on today's episode of Keek on the Mic, and this is just for laughs, I'm going to share with you guys what Colin Coward had to say after Caleb Williams' preseason performance against the Buffalo Bills, and of course, Dan Orlowski as well. Check this out, Bears fans.
So Caleb Williams of the Chicago Bears, I thought he looked decisive. I thought he looked sharp. At one point, he dirted a ball on a screen play. Smart play. Get out of that. Get out of the negative plays. I think basically if you're a Bears fan, it's been a rough camp. It's a new system, a new coach. It hasn't been pretty. Even at Friday's practice, there were false starts. It was a bit ugly, so it's a big sigh of relief. There's a new system. Caleb likes to freelance. His coach does not necessarily want that from his quarterback. So last night, Caleb Williams actually looked a little bit like Jared Goff. He quarterbacked like Jared Goff. He dirted the ball on screens. He got rid of and out of trouble. No negative plays. When he had a guy open, he hit him. Now, we know he's not Jared Goff. I honestly feel like Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams, and you'll see this sometimes where you'll see a crazy talented artist marries an accountant. And it's not ever perfect. That doesn't mean it can't work. I mean, Andy Reid is a creative. Mahomes is a creative. That's perfect. I think Sean Payton feels like Bo Nix can run my play, but he can also run on his own. That feels perfect. Ben Johnson, I feel he's got a little bit of Kyle Shanahan. Run my play. And Kyle Shanahan's great. But you're going to have to let Caleb breathe. So to me, this whole relationship is about, because we know that Ben Johnson is going to win the first several arguments in this. Ben Johnson's a new coach. It's not a rich ownership group. They're not flushing him out. Caleb struggled his first year. So Ben comes in with leverage. But offensive coaches, and Andy Reid would tell you this, when you get somebody as gifted as Mahomes and Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen and Caleb Williams with that kind of horsepower, with that kind of firepower, it is your job as a coach to figure out how to maximize all that amazing clay. All you need, because I think Caleb's got a little Brett Favre, all you need is for that player, Mahomes, Lamar, Josh Allen, Brett Favre, to be amenable to throwing on time and on schedule and avoiding negative plays. I don't care how gifted you are. Josh Allen's not great if he's not on time, he's not on schedule, and there's negative plays. Last year, Caleb was none of those consistently. So you don't have to be a perfect fit with Ben Johnson. But nobody succeeds in this league running around. It's not high school or college. Defensive ends here run 4.55s. They can catch you, and they'll punish you, and they'll lean on you and sit on you and drive you into the ground, whether it's legal or not, and you won't play long. Go ask Lamar Jackson, who suddenly in year 2 and 3 put on weight. Go ask Michael Vick, who started staying in the pocket. I think Caleb Williams' comp, when I watch him, is a little Brett Favre. You got to let him be a little bit of a gunslinger. You got to let him be himself. But Brett Favre mostly played on time, played on schedule. He threw a lot of bad picks. Favre threw a lot of bad picks. You could get away with that in Favre's era. I think offensive coaching is smarter. I think turnovers are more punitive. So I think this is a marriage stylistically that is not perfect. But I know Caleb. I like Caleb. I think he's coachable. But it may never be. It may never be Stafford and McVay, or Reid and Mahomes, or John Harbaugh and Lamar, where it just feels like, what a good marriage. I don't know if this ever will be, but what you saw was a glimpse of what it can be.
It's Monday morning, and the national media completely forgot about all the hate for Caleb Williams. Check it out.
Yesterday morning when I woke up, I would have said to you, if you had asked me, I'm a little worried Caleb Williams is going to be a bust. And last night, after watching 2 drives, I'm sitting here saying Caleb Williams is going to be awesome. The Bears' offense is going to be unstoppable. They're going to make the playoffs.
Man, I know it's the preseason, Ocho, and I don't want to get too. I don't want to get too far in front of this. But the Bears look good.
Right. Dream start. And all the things that you wanted to see from Caleb Williams, you saw it.
This is going to be a very difficult offense to defend.
Last night, I know they're playing a vanilla Buffalo defense, but he looked sharp. He looked effective.
The offense that looks like, hey, look, all the reports coming out of Chicago about maybe them being thrown off the field and Caleb struggling and them not being clean as far as, the quarterback center exchanges or the operation as far as pre-snap penalties. That didn't show up at all, really.
Once again, Bears fans, this was just for laughs. It's just funny how the national media just goes back and forth, and back and forth, just flip-flopping their stance, especially Colin Cowherd. There's one day where he's like, Caleb Williams is a bust, and the next day he's like, okay, Caleb Williams looks like a young Brett Favre, a gunslinger. It just absolutely cracks me up. There was one thing that Colin Cowherd said that absolutely had me rolling when he says, yeah, Caleb Williams had a good outing. He looked really good, but will this marriage actually work between Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams? Will it be like, McVay and Stafford? Would it be like Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid? It's like, dude, let them go through a whole season before you just drill the marriage or the relationship that Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson will have. Because when I look at it, being a Bears fan aside, I'm seeing a connection that is continuing to grow. The transparency that Ben Johnson and Caleb has is just really next level. And you can tell that Caleb Williams is taking everything that Ben Johnson has to say with heart. And once again, just by that 1 or 2 drives that Caleb Williams played last night against the Buffalo Bills, I already see an improved quarterback. Caleb Williams still has a long way to go. Don't get me wrong. He's still going to have to get better in certain areas, but last night was a good start in the progression and development of Caleb Williams, and it has to do between the marriage and the relationship that he already has with new Bears head coach Ben Johnson. But once again, Bears fans, Give me your opinions as always. I'm on the national media and their views on Caleb Williams. It just cracks me up how they go back and forth, and they always change their stance on Caleb Williams. But other than that, Bears fans, make sure you guys continue to hit that subscribe button and the notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Make sure you follow me on all my social media platforms, and make sure you share this episode of Geek on the Mic with every single Bears that you know. But other than that, be back for our all-new Bears podcast right here on Geek on the Mic. Thanks, guys, and as always, bear down.
You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't Geek on the Mic. You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't Geek on the Mic. You can go